So it's Kathryn, Marianne, and Tom here from UK Coaching, and we're going to talk a little bit about journey when coaching children and what that means. Marianne, it's quite a broad one, this. So, like, where would you start when you're thinking about journey?
It is very broad, isn't it? There are some little bits I think that link to the other two because we're thinking about the journey that the child is on long term through sport and also outside of that. And then also maybe zooming in a little bit, I'd be thinking about what is it that will make this meaningful for them. So it could be what sports they do outside that it might complement and support them doing. And that could be their skating or I don't know, stuff that they play in the street with each other. So linking the journey. It could also be linking it to if they play competitively, are we measuring how they're doing more holistically in terms of them becoming more competent in the bits that matter to them? I think the journey is about it mattering to them rather than did we win on a Saturday? But it's like what's going on for that child in terms of their longer term development for them. And we need to recognize children don't really care about what's going to happen when they're 40 because that's far too far away to think about, or being healthy or other things like that. So the things that really matter to them is, are they going to be better at skating, or are they going to be spending more time with their friends, or do they feel more confident? Think about my niece who rides horses. Her relationship with the horses transformed her because it's something she feels has made a huge difference to her own confidence, and that spread outside. So yeah, it's huge, and there's lots of little avenues you could go down. But I think the key for me is thinking about the journey from the perspective of the child, and not for me as a coach who might have a different motivation about what the.
So in terms of the journey of my participants, I work in gymnastics, and primarily it's a sport where it's traditionally a stride of perfection. Okay, so the perfect 10 previously, 10 years ago. However, part of my coaching ethos, our mission at the club is that we strive for progress, not perfection. We're not bothered how our gymnasts it's absolutely nailed it every single time. That's not what we're about. We're about the progress of the gymnast, the participant, the person we're working with, how they are progressing, what their goals are. Every single participant is going to progress at different speeds, at different rates. They're all doing it for different reasons. So they all have different goals as well. So it's about finding out what those goals are, working on how we achieve those goals, how they get to where they want to be. And it's all about making sure that they are having fun and enjoying it and enjoying their journey in the sport that they're doing, but also enjoying their journey of life as well. So whether they want to start doing gymnastics, but they might move over to ice skating, and they might come back to gymnastics. They might then go off to do athletics. It depends on their journey. So I think when we talk about journey, we're talking about the child's life as well. I don't want to create somebody who's just perfect at this one sport. I want to create a fantastic human being who can adapt and join into any activity, and also be social and make friends wherever they go and have life skills.
Something you've sparked in my brain, Kathryn, is around individual development plans and individualizing the journey for young people as well. When I was working at a football club a few years ago, we had about 100 young people involved in this development program. And historically, when it came to individual development plans, it felt, on the whole, laminated, not lived. We did something a bit different where we asked the girls in this particular case to bring in a picture of where they would like to be at the end of the season. And the girls took this message in completely different ways, which was great. Some of them brought in something you would expect in terms of a striker not making a goalkeeper, and that was like what they wanted to achieve. There's one little one who sticks in my mind who brought in a picture of clown school, and when quizzed about this, explained that well, it's school, so I want to make sure when I'm coming to the practice I'm learning something new, but it's clown school, so I want to have lots of fun while I'm here. And it was brilliant. It was like, I mean, I'm talking about this 6 years later, like a picture that just completely summed up the experience she was hoping to have and gave the coaches all the clues that they needed to help her have the best experience possible. So I think when we're talking about journey, the thing that feels important to me is like, how do we connect with the individual here? How do we create some space and time where they can get out of the experience everything that they want to or need to?
Yeah, I think that's so important, and it's something the three of us have picked up there, haven't we? And I think that maybe the slightly more tricky bit is recognizing that those journeys are non-linear, and how do we support the children to realize that they are growing and changing and developing, and they're learning within that growth and change and development, so that it's not always going to look the same. It's not going to be this nice incremental journey towards somewhere where they get better all the time. But the more breadth we have, like Kathryn said, the more things that they can get involved with, the better chance they have of navigating those sort of peaks and troughs on that non-linear journey that we can support them with. So being mindful as a coach about how we help them navigate the fact that the journey's going to have a few off-piste bits, and they're going to get stuck in a few bit logs and all the rest of it. And how do we make sure that those times are still meaningful to them, and that they don't get put off or quit, or, feel that they then lose not only the sport, but maybe lose their whole social network that matters to them. There's often quite a high consequence to children feeling that they're suddenly not talented because they don't recognize that they're going to have this non-linearity in their journey.
I think the bit there about non-linear, I can't even say it, Marianne, non-linearity, like it's not a straight line, is it? Learning and development, and especially with children, there'll be ups and downs and forward and back. And I'm thinking about coaches as not the person who holds all the knowledge and the power and the information, lends it to the children, but the coach is almost like the co-creator or the companion or the thinking partner for the kids. So between us, we can go on the journey together, and it is a journey, isn't it? It's something where we're thinking about long-term development for the young people that we're working with. And like we hear the word co-creation quite a lot in coaching. How can the young people and the coaches build something together? I wonder, like, who's listening to this and feeling brave about the next competition that they're taking the children they coach into, if that's the setting and the environment, and how can you co-create the game plan or the action plan with the young people? Because I would imagine historically coaches do a lot of that themselves, even if their training environment feels more two-way. But yeah, when you're going into the next competition moment within your season or your activities, what can you do where you get as much input from the young people as you do from the coaches?
Yeah, and I think it's important that I and they understand the motivations being there, why they attend sessions every single week. I think it's important that me and them understand their goals. So it's their goals as well. It's not my goals, it's their goals, where they want to go with it. Yeah. But I want to make sure that my participants enjoy coming every single session, that they want to be there, and they get out of it every session what they want out of it as well. I don't want them to keep coming every single week because it's a routine and that's what they've always done. And if they decided they didn't want to continue with the sport anymore, because they then think, oh, well, I can't do that because I don't know what to do with my time on a Saturday afternoon anymore, because I've always just done this sport. What else do I do? I want to make sure that I have all-rounded little humans who I work with, who can be social and have lots and lots of life skills.
That's so important, Kathryn. And we chatted a little bit before we pressed record as well about actually the most important thing is that they do want to carry on doing a sport, whether they come back to us or not. And so the most important thing ultimately is that we pay attention to their motivation, because their journey is only going to carry on if they want to stay involved in being active within our sport or not in our sport. And then that's also part of the voice and choice bit. is influenced there, and are we aware of what it is that makes them want to come back and do something? Because ultimately the journey isn't going to carry on if they stop, if they get off. So how do we make sure that ultimately whatever happens, they want to carry on being active, they want to carry on doing sport, whether they move sideways or they stay with us, but and that they, like I said, they're not totally dependent on one bit, but they are passionate and they love moving and they love being active. And ultimately, I think
I think to sum that up, Marianne, it's like, it doesn't really matter how good your technical or tactical knowledge is as a coach. If the young people don't have a good experience and don't come back next week, then it's kind of redundant. Absolutely. Oh, I'm also curious about how do coaches, that's an open question, this is definitely no silver bullet answer, but how do coaches create that buzz at the end of the session where the children are really excited to come back next week, but also really excited to go and do stuff in between the sessions, and explore movement, explore that sport or other sports. I think, like we said this earlier, but the beginning and the ending of practice is really important because you only get one beginning and one ending. So how can you make it so memorable and so tangible for young people that they're it's almost box set coaching. They want to move straight onto the next session as soon as that one's finished.
I love the box set analogy. I quickly for me, I think the voice choice bit again is, so when we have alluded to the fact that these are really interconnected, the more voice and choice children have, and the more autonomy they have in their what they're doing and why, the more confident they're going to be to go and practice stuff when they haven't got the coach there, because they don't need to be micromanaged, they don't need your feedback, they don't need your instructions. And I think we need to move away from coaches saying to kids, oh, don't practice this because you're going to practice it wrong. That they're not practicing wrong, they're just learning. They're learning more about themselves, their body, what they can do. So can we encourage them to do loads of stuff in between? Because then they're going to come back next week and they're going to be supercharged because they'll have also learned lots more stuff, and they're feeling ownership of the activity